What's up, guys? Up here, and today we are going to try and tackle one of the issues going on with PvP right now, which is the queue, right? So the two things that are preventing players from getting matches are player interest in PvP and the queue itself, right? So we're going to attempt to fix these problems today, or at least provide some solutions for them that I feel are not too unreasonable to implement, right? So, of course, this is just my opinion, and even though, yes, the title is going to be How to Fix Q, because I know everything, it is just my opinion, and they're just suggestions. So, again, we have no idea what the current module or algorithm written right now for the queue looks like. We can only infer how it works right now based on how players are getting matches. So, that being said, yeah, let's just, I guess, get right into it here with the first issue that I feel like is going on with the queue, and that's the fact that players cannot accept unfair matches anymore. So, back in the day, or for the longest time, you were able to select an option on your queue that just says, like, match me with any player, right? So, try all opponents. So, in theory, this would try anyone regardless of rank. It's just anyone that was around your level would be fair game to play, and that kind of worked pretty well. But then there was like a little queue reboot, I guess you could say, like a month ago or a couple weeks. I don't know how long ago it was. It was a little bit ago, and they essentially kind of revamped queue in a sense and kind of made it so that you could do something called accept an unfair match, right? So if you were paired with someone that the game deemed as a quote-unquote unfair match, you could either accept or decline it, right? And if you declined it, you wouldn't lose rank. You would just get back into queue. And if you accepted it, then you would go into the match, right? So this kind of worked, kind of didn't. I think the main problem with it, and the reason why I think they took it out, is because number one, it didn't really seem to be working as intended, and the other problem was there wasn't really a ton of transparency in terms of like what was deemed an unfair match. Because in test realm, at least, when this whole new Q thing was being tested out, because Q was so dead, I actually had an instance where my Warlord 140 balance got paired against a private level 16. And of course, yes, the private did accept an unfair match, but it wasn't even conceivable to the other player that they would be paired with someone like that, no matter how dead the Q was. So it seems like how it worked before, or like how it worked in that instance, when they implemented it, was that an unfair match meant you could literally get anyone depending on how dead the queue was. So if the queue really had no one in it, you could get a horrific matchup, right? And now they kind of changed it so that you can't get unfair matchups, and it seems like, again, just inferring, because we can't see the code, we can't see what was written, right? So inferring that you can really only get people around your level, and that one big distinction that's very obvious is that you cannot get warlords if you're not a warlord, and if you are a warlord, you can't get non-warlords. So basically, 900 rank is like the cutoff for getting other players, right? So if you want to verse warlords as a commander or a captain or whatever, you can't right now. There's not really a way to do that. And I think that applies at all level ranges. I know that it's been very obvious that that's been going on at max. I'm not 100% sure at the lower level ranges if people have been getting maybe like how it was before, where a warlord level 50 can get a private level 70 or something like that. I'm not sure if that's been going on, but I do know for a fact that at max, it definitely seems like warlords are cut off from versing anyone else that is not a warlord. So I assume that's like that across the board, but I could be wrong, right? So, I mean, that's not... it's a change that like kind of makes sense on a surface level, but also not really. Because if you have like someone that is 900 rank compared to someone that's 884 rank, which, by the way, is the difference of one win, it doesn't really make sense why they're not going up against each other. Like, I guess it could kind of make sense at specifically legendary, because there's a pretty good piece of gear that's locked behind being a warlord. But you should give players the option to match up against people if they so choose. So basically what I'm suggesting here is that the queue should be kind of widened in terms of who can get each other, I guess, and I have some suggestions for how you could modify the unfair matchup to make it a little bit more better and a little bit more feasible for getting players, right? So the first change obviously is going to be something that is a little more controversial because not everyone agreed with it, but I actually liked when King's Isle set the original bounds for people, right? In that they divided things into like not crit users, so like no one that has critical rate, and then no one that has shadow rate, and then max, right? Those were kind of like the 3 tiers, I guess you could say. So there is the people without crit, the people with crit and no shadow magic, the people with crit and shadow magic, and then I think actually that was the last tier. I don't think it actually got divided up at max again. So it was like 3 tiers of people, right? And those are kind of the 3 big changing points in the game. Like when you unlock shadow magic, that is a very big difference in PvP, right? Even just getting access to Strike is very different than not having access to Strike. So that makes sense. I think the critical change also makes sense because being able to crit hits is very, very different from someone that is not able to critical anything. So I think that that is also a logical place to kind of divide things up. So what I'm getting at here is we can kind of bring that back, but there could actually be two different ways in which you could have an unfair matchup be obtained. So the first example would be, let's say you are an 800 rank commander and you're okay with versing 900 rank and above warlords, okay? Let's say you go in queue and the queue, because it's been widened or it's been opened up more, it pairs you with someone that is a 950 rank person, okay? This should trigger something when it's doing all its if statements, right? Checking everything. This should trigger something that says, okay, this is an unfair matchup, right? So what you could display to the player is a specific message, right? That says you are being paired with someone that is outside of your rank, right? That is well outside of your rank. Would you like to still accept the match? And then that player can decide, okay, this player is going to still be within my tier, right? So if they're, for instance, a level 60 or something, right? It's going to be someone that has crit, but probably not someone that has shadow magic, right? So it's going to be someone around my level at the very least, and they're going to have some more rank than me. So do I want to accept that? Do I not? The other instance could be pairing people outside of their tier, right? So pairing someone up against like a crit user compared to someone with shadow magic. Because actually back in the day, I kind of enjoyed, because I used to do a lot of legendary PvP back in the day, and I used to have a lot of really high ranked legendary characters, and you would oftentimes verse Prometheans or Exalts with shadow magic, and that was kind of the fun of it, because when you get to that high of a rank, it just becomes a big challenge because you're playing against people that in every conceivable way have better gear, better stats, better health, shads, you know. So it was a real I guess challenge, I guess, to complete it. So I think that that still should be an option for players that want to opt into that. So again, let's create another example here, right? Let's say you have a level 75 balance with 1800 rank. Okay, that's someone that could probably in the old era pair with someone that was a Promethean. Okay, so let's say they pair with someone that has shadow magic. What the game could do is, you know, it runs a check. It says, okay, one player has shadow magic, the other one doesn't. This is an unfair matchup or whatever. Then it could prompt the player for the same thing, except instead of saying you're being paired with someone outside of your rank or well outside of your rank, it could say you're being paired with someone that is outside of your tier, or someone that has access to shadow magic, right? But you could just make a generic message to make it easier from a coding perspective. Just say that it's like outside of your tier, outside of something along those lines, right? So that players know, okay, if I accept this match, I'm probably versing someone that is going to be, you know, 30 to 40 levels higher than me, or maybe not that much, but at least someone that is getting access to something that I don't currently have, right? And that would kind of make sense and kind of make it so that players that are legendary could either sit in queue and wait for another legendary warlord, or just pair with a 90 or something if that's what they so choose. And you could probably also include that same message for if you want to allow players to even like pair with someone that doesn't have shadow magic but is significantly higher level, right? Because it's still possible for a level 60 to get paired with a level 90. And even though, yeah, the level 90 might technically not have shadow magic yet, that is still something that the other players should probably be alerted of, right? So maybe you could have a message for rank, tier, and level, right? You're versing someone way outside of your level, versing someone way outside of your rank, or versing someone way outside of your tier. And I think any of those would make sense. So that's kind of my solution and how it would kind of trickle down into low-level PvP. Because as you guys know, I do most of my focus on max-level PvP, but it's also important that you make a queue or make solutions to a queue that have, a trickle-down positive effect on low-level PvP. And I think that that would be a positive effect, right? Because then low-level players could be getting matches more often, and if they were unfair matches or maybe matches outside of their pay grade, I guess you could say, they would be warned of it before they go into the match. So I think any of that would be pretty good. So moving on to, I guess, the next part of this, which is the whole divide between warlords and not warlords or whatever, right? So I mentioned it earlier, but I actually don't think that it's a good idea for all non-warlords to not be able to face against warlords and vice versa. So, and I also think that too, like, we don't know how this works right now, but I am under the impression, based on how I've seen matchmaking, that it seems like it wants to even put, like, before it was put, like, any rank warlord with any other rank warlord. So, like, you could have a 900 going up against an 1800, and that would happen quite frequently. So it kind of just bundles all the warlords into one group, and it doesn't really distinguish between them. Yeah, I don't know. So I think that that's actually not a bad way of doing it, but it also kind of is for new warlords, because there are new warlords that maybe don't want to verse someone that is 1700 rank, or at least want to be warned that they're going to verse someone that's 1700 rank. So what I'm going to propose as a solution for that is actually kind of a reverse limit function of the damage one. So basically how it would work, or I guess not even, yeah, it'd be reverse, right? Because you'd be opening it up more. So basically, like, there is a significant difference, in my opinion, between someone with 900 rank and someone with 1200 rank. Okay, and I think that there's another significant difference between someone with 1700 rank and someone with 1200 rank. But I don't think that there's really that big of a difference between someone with 2500 rank and someone with 1700 rank. And you may hear that and be like, okay, well, that doesn't really make sense. It kind of does if you think about it. And if you've played PvP for a really long time, you probably agree with me, right? Because someone that's 900 could have gotten there as a fluke, right? They could be someone that is frequently dipping in and out of the warlord status. The next tier that I mentioned, 1200, that's someone that very clearly knows what they're doing at a warlord playing level, and they also clearly just are doing well, right? They're not losing warlord constantly and gaining it back again. They're at an established, well-earned 1200, so they kind of know what they're doing. But then the next tier, like 17, 1800, or even 1600, kind of, those are players that, like, really know what they're doing. That is what I would consider to be high-level gameplay, right? Those are players that really, really know what they're doing. They're winning significantly more than they're losing. They may be stuck around that tier, right? They may be stuck around 17, 1800 rank, but they're able to consistently stay there, and just making it to 16, 17, 1800 rank means that they clearly are at a cut above someone that you would consider at 1200. So where I'm getting at, or where I'm going with all this, I guess you could say, is that players should probably be alerted if they're getting someone that is significantly out of their rank, but not in every instance, right? So, like, the difference between 150 rank, if you're 900 rank, is very different than if you were 1700, right? If you're 1700 going up against someone that's 1950, that's not even something I would bat an eye at, right? That's not a big deal at all. If you were ranked 900, fresh to the scene as a warlord, and you're going up against someone with 1050 rank, that's a little more alarming, right? That's definitely someone that probably has more experience than you. And I'm not saying that you, like, any amount, like, our 150 is just an arbitrary number. It's just used to, I guess, get across the point that as you get higher in rank, what rank actually means depreciates, like, greatly and exponentially, right? So, like, getting rank more and more as you start your journey, I guess you could say, as a warlord, means a lot, right? Because getting out of that slump of getting, in and out of warlord constantly, getting out of that and, like, successfully making it into the thousands is definitely an accomplishment, right? And it definitely means a lot. But once you start to get to that high level of gameplay, that 17, 1800 rank point, getting more rank doesn't really mean a whole lot. Like, it does, but it also doesn't, right? Especially because Fourth Age has been around for so many years now that there are so many people that have boosted rank, so many people that have doored rank. I don't like when I see someone that's 3,000 rank, 4,000 rank, I just don't care, right? Do I think that they're a better player than someone that I would see at 1,600 or 1,700? No, not really, honestly, because if someone's at 1,600, 1,700, 1,800, I know that they're a very competent player. Like, they are playing at a high level. So that's kind of my take on it. So I think that, again, the fact that it seems like now all warlords converse each other is good, right? That's definitely going to help improve queue times. But it would be kind of nice for players that are newer to being a warlord to maybe just get a message that says, hey, by the way, you're going to verse someone that is way out of your rank, right? And when that message could appear, again, could be a limit function, right? So if you're 900, maybe you get that message if they're 200 rank or above. And if you're 1,700, you get that message if they're 1,400 rank or above, or something like that, right? So something that gets bigger and bigger exponentially as it goes upward, right? And that's kind of what the damage limit function is, except for in reverse, because as you get more and more damage, it depreciates more and more, and you get less and less of an effect. But with this, it would kind of be the opposite. As you get more and more higher in rank, the gap for which you would need to be alerted of that message gets higher and higher as well. So those are my suggestions for how to fix queue, how to open it up more and kind of give players more matches. Like I said, I think kind of the big hurdle right now is the fact that, number one, warlords can't verse non-warlords, and also that, it seems kind of limited in terms of who you can actually face, especially at lower levels. The queue does seem to be a little bit better, though. I forgot to mention that in the beginning, but it does seem to be better than it was for the last few weeks. But I think that continuing to improve the queue is going to really help because, again, the two things that are going to prevent a player from getting a match is player interest, so how many people are actually in the queue, and the queue itself doing its matchmaking job properly. So if you guys enjoyed the video, have any other suggestions, or think I'm totally wrong about any of this stuff, please let me know in the comments below. And that is going to wrap up the video for today. So I will see you guys in the next one, and Rotozap out. Peace.